Hey guys, Mark Rodriguez here, and welcome to another episode of TMNT Unboxing, or Unpackaging, or whatever you want to call it. And before I start the episode, I want to talk about something that's kind of related to what we're doing in this episode. I went to Walmart a couple of days ago, and I saw the laziest, and I mean like the most laziest, most sloppily painted, most weak excuse of a variant ever for the Turtles. I'm going to have some pictures here so you can see them. Oh god. It's basically the first wave of the Turtles, the four, Raph, Leo, Mike, Don. Like the first wave, exactly how you look like in the first wave. And you've seen the videos, I've already unboxed all of them except for Leo. Leo was already unboxed. But exact same figures with the pupils just sloppily painted on. The initialized belt buckles like the old 80s cartoon, the letter D and whatever, already painted on their belts. And the knee pads and elbow pads painted, matching the bandanas like an old cartoon, like, Leo, it would be blue and whatever. And I guess they're trying to do like, the 80s version of the toys, but with the Nickelodeon characters. But it is just so lazy. The eyeballs are facing every which way. They're just so sloppy. Those belts, these new belts they have now, were not designed to have the initialized belt buckle. So the letters are just... it just looks so tacky. And the weirdest thing is, it don't even have some kind of name. It's not even called like Retro Turtles, 80s Turtles, Classic Turtles. No, it's just like the same Michelangelo, Leonardo, whatever. I mean, it's the laziest, sloppiest thing I've ever seen. I mean, I only would have bought them if I didn't already own the original first wave when they first came out. Not really worth buying it unless you're like a real hardcore completionist. You just have to have every figure or whatever. So anyways, I'm talking about in this episode is that this episode will be about different versions of the Turtles, and that's one thing I want to do. One thing I do is I try to avoid buying variants, unless it's something that's maybe super like on the show, or maybe like, whoa, that's one sweet figure. But other than that, I try to avoid variants. And for people that don't know what variants are in the term of action figures, a variant is when you have like the main character like, as is. Let's say for example Batman. He has tons of variants. Just Batman. There you go. But then they have, stealth mode Batman, ninja Batman, mountain climbing Batman, ice fighting Batman, all that stuff, all that junk. We don't need 50, 60 Batmans. I got the Batman, I don't need the others, and that's what I'm trying to avoid here. Now, the only exception I do, because I don't really count them as variants, is when there's a different version of the characters altogether, because it's based on like a whole different version. Like buying a turtle based on the 2003 cartoon is completely different from buying a turtle based on the live action movie, or like the 2000, the Nickelodeon cartoon, or the old 80s, like that's all something different. Or in the case of NECA, that's like a completely different company altogether. That's not Playmates, that's, different. So we're going to do in this episode, we look at 4 turtles, 2 of them that are in packages and 2 that are out, based of different versions, different incarnations of them. So let's check it out, let's get that started right away. And the first one I'm going to start off with is Raphael from the re-release Classics Collection of the Turtles. And, yeah, this is how Turtles looked like back in the day, and I gotta say the most important reason that I bought Raphael was because way back in the 80s, whatever time they released these, Raphael was the very first figure, the very first figure I bought on the whole Turtle toy line. I just had to get him again, and here he is. Now to the description though, because it's just like the overall if you buy them, it's like catapulted from indie comic origins to superstardom by the original Murakami Wolf Swenson Films MWS animated series, TMNT ran on air for nearly a decade, from 1987 to 1996, and ranked #1 in ratings for an unprecedented 5 straight years. Featured in over 190 episodes, of fun-loving, shell-kicking teens are still recognized around the world and fondly remembered by fans with every bite of pizza. So yeah, let's check this out. This is the original, or at least a re-release of the original 1998. And that's another thing I gotta tell you guys. Be very careful. Be very careful when you go to cons or other places. Sometimes they have like the old figures and they're in their packages, But I just want you to remember, before you spend the big bucks, before you're like, oh my god, it's an original Leonardo, still in its original, box and everything, and, for $100, before you do that, check the package. The original package, way back in the 80s, only had the particular character in the arts. Like in the arts, like if you had a Leonardo figure, it would only be like different poses of Leonardo. It would not have all 4 turtles, So if you see something like all 4 turtles, because Playmates did release them a while back before the Nickelodeon thing started, and especially we see the Nickelodeon logo, you could tell it's not the original from the 80s, so don't, spend a lot of money. But anyways, here's Raphael, and he looks exactly like I remembered him from back then. He's stuck in there with pressure. One moment here. Stuck in there with the pressure. Give me one. Oh god, this is gonna take more than just a second here. Give me. Raphael's pulling up a fight. Dude, come on, give it up. They doesn't have the twist ties, but jeez. Oh, finally. Okay, so here's the original Raphael figure. And yeah, I'm going to give more of a detailed close-up in a bit, but there's Raphael. Alright guys, so first we got Raphael here, the original 80s version of Raphael. That's the first form of the Turtles, when they first came out. Very first action figure ever. Got a little thing here in the back, but I don't know if it's good for the size though. And of course you got the initialized belt buckle. He's got the little holsters here for both sides. Legs open and close and things. Arms is the basic up and down articulation, because that was, I think it was back in the day. That was before he started doing things like the arms can open and close and whatever. And the head, I think, yeah, it's a harder head. Because the thing is, in the original figures, the first 4 turtles at least, their heads were squishy. And it was kind of weird because they made their face, because I guess it was a slightly different material. The green was like a slightly different shade compared to the rest of the figure. But then when they re-released them or whatever, they were like, harder head figures and everything. And a little black line there, kind of weird. And the weapons came in these tray things, and I'll get some scissors and cut them out later, sign stuff. I usually stick this thing here. This little, it looks like a giant kunai in the back of Raph's thing here, because this looks more like suited to fit the kunai than his size. But yep, that's Raphael. Okay, now the second figure was released not too long ago, but it's pretty cool. Now you've seen, I already showed you the NECA version of Michelangelo in one of the videos. So yeah, they make big figures based on the original Mirage comics. After a while, Playmates wanted to jump on it, so Playmates also released figures based on original comic books. This is comic book Leonardo. For those people that have watched our channel and still do not know, yes, the Turtles did all wear red bandanas in their first comic book. Well, throughout the Mirage comics, that is, before the cartoons and everything. And even to this day, any comic book made by Mirage or whatever, I'm stumbling here, but every comic book made by Mirage, that's what they are. They always have the red bandanas. And let me see here. Leonardo, master of the katana swords, known for being brave, dedicated, and a master of his twin katana sword. Leonardo is the hero's hero, a force of good fighting against the minions of evil, and he's got a really cool shell. Okay? Back in 1984, a single 40-page black and white underground comic redefined the comic book industry and created a worldwide phenomenon. For 30 years, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have entertained and thrilled legions of fans across the globe, and they're still going strong. Oh, got that right. So, let me try to open this up here. Yep, and for those that have been watching the cartoon, the only time we've actually seen these Turtles in animated format was in their little appearance in Turtles Forever. And, ooh, this is pretty cool. He came with a little... Well, first of all, this is like based on the very first panel when the Turtles are jumping out in the first issue and everything. That's pretty cool to add. They actually do that in the Nickelodeon theme song, so I give them props for that. And here's a random picture of Leonardo. I don't know if it's like stock comic art or not, but that's, yeah, that's the original art stuff. They were drawn back, when these people there made them. And here they are. Okay, so the swords are secured here. There's a sword here. Here's the sword there. Let's This is so weird. They used to be tied up by twist ties. Now they're just jammed into these things by pressure. There we go. And here's Leonardo. And, you know, cool close-up and stuff later. I'll definitely be getting the rest of these guys. Then we have Leonardo, the Mirage version. Like I said, they all have the red bandanas. They got the details here, little lines and markings and everything. And yeah, original black belt. One thing to notice is that, of course, they also have the little tail there, because the turtles in the comic books, Mirage anyways, always had tails. But that's the one little detail that was always skipped out of other movies or, you know, other incarnations. And it's pretty cool. Pretty cool design. You know, of course, it doesn't really compare to like the masterpiece that the NSCA ones are, but it's still pretty good. And let me see, they got knee articulation. The arms, oh yeah, the arms also open, you know, open in and out like that. That's pretty cool. Little articulation here and there. And one thing I gotta notice though, one thing I just have to say is that despite the cartoon being goofy, changing things a lot, if you notice the turtles when they first came out, at least in the toys, they have the similar, like the serious pupils, the grimacing faces, the short bandanas or whatever. It's like, I don't know, the toys were kind of sort of going with the right track of the comic book look, sort of. But the cartoons start adding, of course, the goofy eyeballs, multicolor bandanas, and all of that. But yeah, here's Leonardo. That's pretty cool. Okay, and now for the two figures that I have. Let me just show them real quickly. Now, this is just a coincidence, because I just bought these figures randomly, you know, but, well, you'll see what I mean real quickly. The first one we have is Raphael. Raphael, based on the 2003 cartoon version, and of course I'll put more close-ups on that too. And it's weird, I looked around, I guess from all the figures I bought, Raphael was the only one that survived the trip, but I remember that I bought the other figures, and Raphael was actually the last one I could find in stores, because they kept selling variants and stuff, but not just normal Raphael. And now we got a 2003 version of Raphael, looking kind of badass, looking all angry and ready to kick some ass. Pretty cool design. It's basically the second time we've seen a different version of the Turtles when the 2003 line started, after the after the 89, whatever's the year when I call it, ended. And yeah, he was a little smudged up though. He had these weird markings here that kind of bugged me. He had a little scratch on the nose, but at that time that was the only Raphael I could get, so I had to just deal with it. And yeah, I think his arms, do they? Yeah, they do kind of open and spread in and out there. He's a bit stiff because, you know, I haven't really used them. But yeah, the arms open and close and all that. It's like they always give the best circulation to the turtles themselves and not so much the supporting cast. And he does have holes here, so you could put like the size whenever he's not holding them. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so the last figure we have is Leonardo, based on the Imaji movie. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I remember I only bought Leonardo and Donatello, so I guess Leo was the only one I bought, and I'll show more close-ups of it right now. You can check it out. And finally, we got Leonardo from the Imaji movie. One thing is noticeable is the size of the characters. Most of the characters from the movie toy line were a lot taller and bigger than the regular characters from the 2003 cartoon. The only bad thing is they got super lazy, though. Once these figures came out with the new modes and stuff, they didn't want to go back to the 2003 one, so they just reused these guys for other variants and weird space adventures and junk like that, which looked pretty out of place because it's like the movie Turtles, and they didn't do that in the movie. But yeah, they have good articulation here and there. I believe the arms also spread out, or do they? They got joints for it. There they go. He does spread out his arms and everything. And one thing is kind of weird how the shell here would always keep, like you could kind of press into it. Don't know why. And yeah, he's got sorts in his back, because, you know, suitcase and stuff, so I'll probably pull them out in a bit. But yeah, there you go. It's a pretty cool variant. And no, I did not mean to purposely get two Raphaels and two Leonardos. He has knee articulation here too, but it just came out that way. Alright guys, now it's time for everyone's favorite game, Can They Stand? And first we got the classic Raphael here. Let's see. The bad thing is that back in the day they didn't have that much choices in articulation. And it looks like you'll be okay like this. It's okay. It did feel a little loose though, like, you know, like how they feel like we use them for a while. And it's like just out of the package, so it's kind of weird how he feels a bit loose. And like I said before, I did give him the little whatever this is in the back of his shell here. But yeah, it looks like Raphael, he still wobbles a bit. He's probably going to be the first one to fall or something if something shakes. And then we have Mirage Leo, and it was kind of hard to find a pose from. One thing I did notice, which is kind of weird, is that his wrists don't spin. And most figures, the articulation, at least their wrists are able to turn around. I was lucky I didn't accidentally snap the figure trying to make his wrist move. The arms do move in all kinds of weird ways to pose them or whatever, but I want to keep them like this because that way the swords are not so standing out, you know, the arms being outstretched and everything. We don't want it to be like, you know, getting in the way of other figures. The swords also fit very loosely in his hand, so that's another little point against them. Other than that, it is a sweet looking figure though. I mean, the more figures based on the original Mirage comics, the better. And yeah, he looks like, yeah, he's got big ass feet there for standing, so he's cool there. And then we got Raphael here. This Raphael is kind of sort of the pose that I put on back in the day to stand, I think. Let me, and that's a weird thing. These characters have their arms and legs bent in such ways that they're like in this specific pose. So I didn't pose them all like that. He kind of sort of basically comes posed like that already out of the box. So, I don't know, it kind of shakes a bit, but this should still keep him steady enough. And then finally we got Movie Leo. Wow, he's so tall, gotta put the camera high. But, yeah, his legs are a bit more closed than the others. His feet aren't as big as the others, but it looks like he's gonna stay steady. Let's, okay, so they're gonna stand. But yeah, so we got 2 Mikes and 2 Leos. Only 1 Leo actually wearing blue. So let's put these guys in their display case. And finally, here's what they look like in the display case. We got the 2007 movie Leonardo behind the 2007 version movie of Splinter, which is of course pretty fitting there. We got the classic Raphael there, close to the classic inspired pop vinyl figures. We got the 2003 Raphael just chilling there looking menacing. And finally, I just couldn't resist putting the Playmates version of the original Mirage Comics Turtles here next to the NECA version of the Mirage Comics. You can see the difference in detail, difference in size, obviously there. And yeah, it's just cool. It's just 2 completely different interpretations of the same kind of characters from the original black and white comic books that started it all. So that's pretty cool. That wraps up this episode of TMNT Unpackaging. You can see all the other figures here. And yeah, just stay tuned and watch more episodes, or rather we'll see how many episodes we can do, because this display case is starting to get crowded.